Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kalsamrit podcast. I'm your host, Matty Buller. With me, as always, crew Brendan Kalijundic, also crew Barry McDonald, and we have a very special guest today. He is a UFC fighter, ranked 14th in the flyweight division. His mixed martial arts record stands at 11-3 with 1 win by knockout and 6 by submission. He's also a BJJ black belt and the former Super Combative Championships bantamweight champion from the great state of Texas. Mark De La Rosa, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I see you did your homework.
I did. Well, hey man,
that was
I wouldn't.
Better than Joe. That was are you Bruce Buffer? That was amazing.
I am a Bruce Buffer wannabe. That guy is like my hero.
That was amazing.
I basically got into doing my ring announcing because of guys like Bruce and Michael Buffer. I always thought it was pretty cool how they would pump up the fighters by being excited about it, because it's your job as an announcer to get people fired up, to get them excited, right?
Can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
Introduce him like he's fighting right now. I got to hear this. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next competitor fighting out of the red corner. He is a mixed martial artist with a record of 11-3, 1 win by knockout and 6 by submission. Please welcome Mark De La Rosa. I should have thrown the bumblebee in there as well to tell you. I screwed that up.
Before we begin,
that's why I'm not Bruce Buffer. Screwed it. I was 98%. That doesn't get it done.
I got to give Matty Buller a shout out. Actually, he does all our podcasts, does a lot of work, comes into the gym. He does personal training with our fighters. He does all our classes. He's also one of our ring announcers for a lot of our events. But he's got a big opportunity himself coming up. You're actually going to be live on the UFC Fight Pass, being the announcer at the Cody Crawley event in Peterborough.
Yeah,
that's huge, Matty.
Super excited, and all props go to Cody Crawley, the Canadian champ, because I started up a relationship with him when I was a DJ on The Wolf, and there weren't a lot of radio stations wanting to talk boxing, and I thought it was fascinating. Here's this kid making a name for himself down in Vegas from Peterborough, and I had him on my radio show, and next thing I know, I go down to Vegas and the guy has me to Mayweather's gym. I'm like the only amateur there. It was like I even got to meet Stitch, for God's sakes. But Cody, when the UFC said they were going to air his fight live on UFC Fight Pass, he said, I got my announcer, don't worry about sending one, which is pretty sweet.
Big problem.
Pretty sweet.
Awesome.
Not that they were going to send Bruce Buffer. I didn't beat Bruce Buffer up for any jobs, but nonetheless, it's going to be good. And I'm looking forward to Cody winning another one, staying undefeated.
Yeah, no, you've made it, and that's kind of like levels, whether it's fighting or whatever it is. It's shown you through your whole career, and now you're being broadcast live on UFC Fight Pass. As far as the fight game goes, that's the biggest thing there is on the planet. And you're going to be on that live. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I started out doing stuff like minor hockey and minor football and not even getting paid, just volunteering. Yeah. My first real paid announcer job as a PA announcer was with the Peterborough Lakers, the pro lacrosse team in the summer from Peterborough. And from there, I kind of was able to parlay it into some other things. And now I do a lot of stuff for yourselves. I do a lot of the Court of Combat events as well up in Peterborough. So I enjoy ringing out. Like I said, it hyping the fighters up. And, being in my 40s now, I'm no longer the athlete I once was, but it feels great to be a part of it. They all keep me young.
It's a skill you have. Not many people can do that and do it the way they do. And to me, I've been thousands of fights my whole life, and I think you're one of the best announcers I've heard as far as a lot of the pro events. And it's exciting. You set the tone and the atmosphere, really. And even doing all art, we've done about a dozen podcasts together now, and it blows my mind every time here. It makes you're very, very professional. So you're
now I'm blushing.
How you talk about us as high level trainers, fighters, and coaches? I see that in you in your world, and now you've used that to kind of develop through this world. And you came in being a radio guy. Bam, you're on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah,
you made it. If that was a fighter, it's like, bam, you just got a UFC contract being a fighter. So you did it.
Well, hopefully it just continues on from there. I'd like to help Cody become world champ, because he's in the top 10. I believe it's in the IBF. The WBO's got him ranked 12th. What's cool about that is Manny Pacquiao's the top of that division. I was texting the champ. I was like, dude, you can fight Pacquiao.
Well, that's the thing with especially with boxing or any pro fighting, but especially boxing right now, when you look at all the guys ranked above you, you're like, those are multi-million-dollar fights, like most of those guys.
Yeah.
And they're all legends. Win, lose, or draw. Who doesn't want to fight? Say, I fought Manny Pacquiao. You're on his record, and he's on your record.
Yeah.
And, I mean, those are the biggest fights you can get. Like I tell guys, when you want to go pro, you pick who's the champion in your weight class right now. You want to beat them. And then you reverse engineer that to where you are now, and you do everything you have to get there.
That's
rather than I don't want to just be I'm a pro fighter. I'll fight here and there. I'm 3-5. It's like, no, you're going there to be the best on the planet, because if you're not, the guys you're fighting, they're there to be the best. So you find out who the best guy is, and you want to beat him. And if you don't want to beat him, you're not really in it. You know, I don't want to be like, oh, I want to be a fighter. It's my goal to be a top 20 guy. Like, no, you want to be the best guy in the planet that's a champion. You know, that's it. But I see that in you. You're going to be that around here for announcing. So,
well, I found also being a member of this gym, I'd never really known what it took to be a fighter. And like, I played pro football, but that's nothing compared to what, like, I had one fight, and that I was never once terrified on the football field. I was crapping my drawers like for 3 straight rounds, just hoping I survived a fight. So I started.
I cornered you on that. That was good. Yeah, you listened and you landed your overhand right.
Yeah, I did.
And you did it.
I did. And the first time I ever got punched in the face, Dylan was standing right there, and I turned and I just looked at him with my jaw agape, and he's like, "Don't look at me, fight." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's when I really realized that, like, and where I started hearing guys, like, whether it was on Twitter or, you know, via even some commentators saying, well, that guy, he's a chump or he's soft. Man, if you can get the stones to get up and get in the ring with some of those killers, nobody gets to call you a chump.
Listen, anyone I've heard that talks crap about fighters or that, they're not a fighter. It's guys that don't do it.
But they're wearing an Affliction t-shirt.
Like, yeah, that's the thing. If anyone, someone can walk into a fight and get one punch, it doesn't change my mind of what I know they've put into it and their skill set and how good they are. It's just, you got to get it right on game night. And the hard thing about fighting is you only got a few minutes to get it right. And you're not going to have another one for a few months. It's not, a 7-game series we're going to have every single night. And then most people, they're going to judge you off your last fight. So if you had a terrible last fight, disregard everything you did before that. But you take any legend in fighting, any of the best fighters, and the real fighters know who the best actually is. You can take 5 of their worst fights ever, and if that was all you've seen of them, you wouldn't know who those guys are. You wouldn't know who Fedor was if you watched his last 4 or 5 fights. You wouldn't have seen the 30 fights where he came up. You wouldn't see, like, any of these guys. Vitor Belfort is one of my all-time favorites in his prime and how explosive he was. But if you look at some of the latter fights of his career where he just kind of came in flat, whereas any one fight doesn't really tell you who you are. You have to look at the whole picture. And that's the thing with the guys that are, judging and this and that. They're sitting there on the couch, drunk, eating chips.
Yeah.
That guy should have used more jabs, man. If I
if I was in his position, I'd kick his ass.
Well, it's like I was saying to you, man, even just a guy throwing jabs, you know what kind of stamina it takes to throw jabs for 3 minutes at a time? Like I told you, when Bubba's trying to work on my hand speed, and I was trying to hit that head that he carries around, and I was just pumping jabs, and by the end of 3 minutes, my deltoid is just on fire, right? And I mean, I'm not a weak guy, but I was just like, geez, I can't believe how much this burns. Now picture doing that for, like a 12-round fight, just pumping out jabs. Like that's where, like, nobody, unless they've had a fight camp, can really know what the journey's like. I don't, because I had a bit of a fight camp, but it was nothing compared to what a real fighter does to get ready for a fight.
Well, you did the whole process, and even when you started, you came in and you hired me for personal training. We did about 2 months. And like I said, I trained you the way I want to train everybody.
Perfection of movement.
If I did that, we would have 2 people in the gym. I had you for about 6 weeks. We were just in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
It was just looking at your feet. It was getting our feet positioning, our leg positioning, our hips, transferring our weight, getting where your elbows, forearms, and your hands are, and what that does, because there's so much to it, each step, and just coordinating that, and it's a different animal. I had you doing that for a couple weeks before we even wrapped your hands, remember? And then by your last set, you're hitting pads like a pro, and then you're ready to go to that fight. But you can't skip any layers to this. If you do, it's going to show up later on, especially in the higher levels. You have to build a strong foundation, and like we say it all the time to the kids, basics wins fights. For every fight you show me that's won with a jump spinning kick, I'll show you 10,000 that's won with a jab cross.
Yep. Well, before we get into the entire gist of this podcast, let's go to Crew Brendan just for some quick gym news.
All right, guys. Yeah, so just real quick before we get to interview our special guest, Mark De La Rosa, what's going on at Kalsamrit this month, just to keep everybody in the loop. We have our adult Muay Thai grading for our Port Perry students. That'll be Wednesday, September 25th. We're going to be doing our kids Muay Thai grading for Port Perry students on September the 30th in Port Perry. Nick Cambasis, he's going to be making his pro debut alongside Hashmat in London, September 28th. And then we have a PA Day camp coming up for the kids, Friday, September 27th. So that kind of wraps up September, guys, and let's get started. I got some good questions for Mark. You know, we've been having a blast with him, so Matty, take it away.
All right, well, thank you very much for sitting down with us, because I think it's pretty super cool to interview an active UFC fighter. It's actually a first for me in my career, so
awesome.
Thank you very much. And studied some of your game tape, too. I went back, saw some of your fights on Fight Pass, and dude, you're tenacious. I see why they call you the Bumblebee. Like, just hover around there, and you're good, man. So let's just get into it. Like, a lot of people in this gym are just starting their martial arts journey. So maybe, like, let us know how you started in martial arts. What made you get into it in the first place?
I started out, I grew up with, I have 6 brothers, including me. There's 6 brothers, 2 sisters, big family household, so we're constantly fighting. Every time we're having get-togethers, barbecues or anything, there's a pair of gloves around, and someone's uncle's telling their brother something that their kid can beat your kid up, and next thing you know, we're having sparring sessions, sparring matches for the adults, and just entertaining each other. And I had a rough upbringing coming up in high school. I mean, middle school, it wasn't the best environment, so I was constantly fighting, always, and I thought I could fight, but I honestly couldn't fight. When I actually got invited to a boxing gym, my first discipline was boxing. I get invited to a boxing gym because I'm just beating everybody up around as far as like on the schoolyard, on the playground and stuff. Go to the boxing gym, and they asked me to step in the cage with a female. Her name was Alana Hudgens. She was on the Olympic team at 100. I think she fought like 164 pounds, walked around like 180. And I was like, I'm not going to spar this girl. I was like, I'm going to beat her up. I was like, I'm just going to beat her up. Go in there with her. They're like, I go in there since you're so tough. I go in there. I'm throwing some jabs. She hits me with a hard cross. And I was like, all right, you really want to go? I start teeing off on her chest, hitting her in the boobs, the face. She just shells up, laughs it off. And the next 2 rounds, she had my blood all over the ring, all over the wall. My nose was just dripping, And
the correct term for multiple punches to the boobs is speed bagging.
Yeah, I was speed bagging her. I didn't know I didn't know a proper throw jab cross. I was like, you know what? I see some boobies there. I'm just gonna start hitting her there, hitting her in the face. And I got my first introduction to actual to boxing was me getting beat up by a girl. And I was like 16, 15, and I was going about 100%, like trying to take her head off and just trying to hit anything I could, and she just laughed it off. Same thing for jiu-jitsu. When I first started jiu-jitsu at 14, same thing. I stepped in the thing and I was like, I'm not gonna grapple somebody. This is kind of gay. Like most teenager boys, most guys that are uneducated, like, oh, this is kind of gay. You guys are throwing up triangles, arm bars, and certain body parts are in certain places and stuff. And next thing I know, they put me on the mat with a girl, move around with her. She starts choking me here and there, and I was like, all right, well, let's go hard. I start going hard. She just dismantles me, arm bars me, chokes me. And I was like, if I was throwing punches, I would totally beat you. Turns out she was an MMA fighter, or did some kind of sambo and MMA, put some gloves on. I tried to take her head off. She ducked under, hit me with a double leg, ended up choking me out like in the first minute. So for jiu-jitsu, MMA, and boxing, I got beat up by women. Women beat the crap out of me.
You have no idea how good that makes me feel, because I get beat up by the girls at this gym all the time.
Do not feel bad.
Savannah Foden leg kicks are not the best thing to try to recover from the next day. So, you started out like everybody does. You were the nail, but eventually you became the hammer, right? Because you are a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now that to me is like getting a PhD in something, because it's a 8 to 10 year journey, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So your journey through BJJ, what kept you going through that? What was it you held on to in BJJ that attracted you to that kind of level?
For me, it was the environment at my home gym, Genesis Jiu-Jitsu back in Fort Worth, Texas. The environment, it was just a great environment. The environment for me back home wasn't good. Like, it wasn't I didn't have a stable household. Parents are always fighting. I was in and out of foster cares and shelters and stuff. So when I went to the gym, it was peace. I was around successful people. I was around people that owned businesses, people that carried themselves well and stuff. So I slowly started picking up those traits, started holding myself to a higher standard, started talking clearer, started just basic things that I wasn't learning back home. Shaking hands, making eye contact when talking, keep building good relationships, good friendships and stuff, and having people mentor me and help me be successful.
And that's what martial arts really is great for, right? It's not just a way to defend yourself. It's a way you carry yourself, right? It's how you conduct yourself in society. And there's a certain amount of honor that you carry with that. And I've noticed it even in a lot of the kids in this gym, because on PA days and stuff, some of them will come to the adult classes, and you'll hold pads for them, they'll hold pads for you, and they're just great. They're enthusiastic, they work really hard on the mats, and they've got great attitudes. So is that basically how you stayed positive throughout the entire, like obviously if you have a hard home life, and probably being in high school wasn't that easy, because I've heard high schools in Texas are pretty tough. And you grew up in Fort Worth, right? Yeah. So is really the gym that what helped keep that positive mentality and your social graces alive?
Yeah, it did. It honestly did. It was my home away from home. Just being, my coach was like my father. Just like here, Brandon and stuff, these guys, like these kids look up to these coaches, and that was me looking up to the coaches and other successful jiu-jitsu competitors, MMA fighters. Like coming to the gym, it made me super happy, looking up to guys chase their dreams and making me believe that if they can do it, I can do it.
So you've been doing it for a whole bunch of time, and then all of a sudden you want to turn pro. And when you turn pro, you don't just automatically get to fight in the UFC.
No.
So maybe talk to me, because there's some people at our gym right now that are looking to turn professional. And so kind of what does it take to be a professional fighter? And then how would you go about, not just taking your first professional fight, but trying to position yourself to climb that ladder? Because there's a lot of guys that want to be the champ. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that want to be the champ. There's a lot of guys, they want to be the best in the world. They want to be UFC champ. They all say that when they first started, but none of them want to put in the work. None of them want to stay dedicated. Half the time, it's all the work you're putting in when no one's looking. Late night runs, shadow boxing, extra workouts. Most of these guys, their coaches have to constantly tell them, hey, where are you at? You got to be at practice, tell them their schedule. Me, I'm totally opposite. I've been like, even before I even knew how to throw a punch, I would always blow my coaches up. Can I get mitts? Can I get mitts? Can I get mitts? What's my schedule for the week? What are we going over for the week? What should I learn for the week? What can I do when I'm at home? Constantly asking questions, constantly trying to get better, recording my shadow boxing, recording my sparring rounds, recording hitting mitts. Before I was even told, before I was even took a fight, I was watching lots of fight videos, seeing what the greats are doing, seeing what fight camps are like. And YouTube was amazing for me, just because I wasn't able to travel a lot or experience a lot, and MMA wasn't that big when I first started. As far as like in my area, we didn't have too many gyms or people to follow, look up to. Everybody's going to all these big mega camps, Team Alpha Male and this and that, and I have no money to do that or travel. I'm just stuck in hot Texas. So just by watching all that, man, it's great. It's great to be around. It's great to see all these guys. It's great to see just being in the gym and just seeing that environment slowly evolve and fighters just start creating themselves. Like, it's pretty cool to see.
Excellent. So it's really about initiative and about showing up, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to be the one that wants to be there and put in the work. If your coach is pushing you, then you really don't want to be the champ, right?
Yeah. Because every weekend after a UFC event, there's always some young kid coming, I want to be a fighter, I want to be a fighter. Then next week, the mind might completely change, or it's on to baseball or something else.
Our defensive coordinator on my college football team used to say, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're forgotten.
Who's more on time, Mark, Dylan, or Bubba, or Nick?
Oh, my God.
Let's start the wars right now.
Well, we're just going to say Nick's always late. I'm just going to throw Nick underneath the bus. Nick's my transportation right now, and I'm ready to go 30 to 45. I'm sitting in the living room 30 to 40 minutes on time. Like, all right, Mark, we're going to go. Then he goes downstairs. All right, we're about to go. Then he goes upstairs. Oh, okay, we're about to go. He goes to the truck. Oh, we're about to go. The next thing you know, we're leaving. We got to think about like a 20-minute drive, and we're leaving 10 10 minutes late. 10 minutes late every time. I was like, man, it's like, I was ready an hour ago.
Yeah, we're sitting there. I'm waiting for the boys. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hold pads for these guys at 11, 11:15, 11:03. Mark, he's like, it wasn't me. It was this Nick. He's always late for everything.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm always, like I said, I'm always 30 minutes early. If it's practice at 9, I'm there at 8:30 every time. Anytime there's a problem, I'm always 30 minutes early.
I always try to come early when Dylan's wearing tights. Coach Darren's got his tights on. Matty Buller's in the gym. It's a wonderful thing, eh?
It's a wonderful thing. Coach Darren.
No, so, I'm glad you talked about your training because it seems like you treat it like it's a real job, right? You're up in the morning, you're attacking it like it's a day of work. So what is your average day of work like? And let's not even talk fight camp yet. Okay. Let's say like you're just keeping yourself in shape out and you don't have a fight coming up. What's your average day consist of?
Average day, I'll wake up, get my daughter ready for school, take her to school, as soon as drop her off, get a good 3 to 4 miles in, go for a light run, go to the gym, do some light movement, go over footwork and stuff. I'll invite some of the other guys from the team and just keeping it super light, just going over basic movement, basic techniques, keeping good form, and then go home for a little bit. I might do some strength conditioning, and then teach a kids class, and then at night I'll do MMA practice.
So about how many hours a day? And this, once again, people, is out of fight season.
Yeah, this is out of fight camp.
Yeah. How many hours a day are you devoting to your physical fitness?
Probably about anywhere from about 4 to 6 hours a day.
Wow, that is incredible.
And that's very slow for me. That's very small. In fight camp, it's 12 to 13 hours of training. If you put all the trainings together, that's how much I'm actually training.
Now, part of being an athlete in a contact sport, even I know this from football, is keeping your body getting proper recovery. Mm-hmm. What kind of special things do you do to help your recovery? Not just from after a fight. I mean, you're having some hard workouts during fight camp and stuff. How are you recovering so that the next day you can attack another day of work?
Yeah, for me, it's I take naps, ice baths, and cryo. That's what it's like for me.
Ice baths are the best.
And then if I can beg the wife to give me a massage, or talk her to give me a massage, then that's just a plus.
Well, it's funny you brought up your wife and your kids. So obviously that's why you get up early. You're a dad. Yeah. I'm the same way, man. I can't sleep in past 6:30 anymore. Like if it's 6:30, I'm like, wow, my kid hasn't come in to wake me up yet. But your wife, Montana, is also a UFC fighter, which is pretty...
Yeah, we're the first active married UFC couple. She's ranked higher than Rana. She's ranked 12 in the world.
I believe
11. 12 or 11, yeah, 12 or 11.
I actually did some research on her too, and she's ranked number 11
in the women's
flyweight division. Also, a 3-time All-American at her high school.
Yeah,
that is, and for people that don't know, becoming an All-American wrestler in high school is ridiculously difficult. Mm-hmm. Like that's and to do it 3 times. Mm-hmm. So what? Sophomore, junior, senior.
Yep.
Wow. So she's obviously a killer.
Yeah.
So how did you guys go about meeting? That's interesting.
Went about meeting in the gym actually. Okay. She reached out to me for personal training and stuff, and it started out that way.
Okay, right on. And how's son or daughter?
Daughter, yeah. She's 8.
8 years old? Yeah. That's a cool age, right?
She's ranked number 1 in the nation in her weight class. She wrestles now too. She has over 100 wrestling matches. If anybody wants to look her up, you can look her up online at Mark De La Rosa on YouTube. And when I tell people about my daughter, they're just like, oh, it sounds cute. You YouTube her and you watch her technique. She competes in the boys and girls division. And like the girls division is like a warm up for her. Like she just does she'll go 10-0, 12-0 each Saturday on wrestling matches. Girls division, boys just go back and forth from competing in both divisions at the same time. She'll go 9, 10-0 each week, and she has over 100 something matches. This week, she's going to Iowa to compete.
Wow.
So she's all over.
And now you, what kind of fight dad are you? Are you like the guy that kind of stands there with his arms crossed watching? Are you like sweating? Are you like yelling out moves?
I'm the one yelling out the moves. I'm always, I help coach her and stuff. Okay. So I'm there in her corner. I'm there on the corner of the wrestling match helping her get ready, warming her up, and coaching her as well.
Nice. And so do you coach other kids at the gym as well?
Yes. I run a jiu-jitsu program. I help coach wrestling, boxing, MMA, everything.
Nice. And what do the kids think about an active UFC fighter being their coach?
They love
it. Seeing you on TV, right?
Oh, they love it. They freak out even to this day. I've been teaching the kids class at my gym since I was 14 years old. And especially these past couple of years since being in the UFC, I have to disappear sometimes for fight camps, and be kind of selfish. I don't teach at all. I just constantly stick to my own training. But every time I step on the mats, they look at me like, what? The parents, I love seeing the parents and the kids are like, you're still coaching here? Because I don't need a coach. I enjoy teaching the kids classes back home. I enjoy interacting with mixed martial arts. This is my way of giving back.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Nick said when he first, mentioned Mark coming down. He was like, I met this guy before he made it real big, and he's always stayed humble. And the fame never got to him. He was always grounded and stayed humble the whole way through. And that was one of the biggest things. And we've seen that here too. Like, he showed up Wednesday night in Port Perry. I was like, just to come and train. He's like, no. And he's like, no, I want to teach. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. And it's an honor that, by the way, like I can tell you as a member of the gym, when a person like yourself comes and wants to devote an hour to a guy like me who's never going to fight at a high level, but enjoys the process of learning the martial art, and to hear it from an active guy who, it's just every coach has their own little style, right? And that's what I like about actually that we got a bunch of different coaches that teach here is you always get something a little different. And, martial arts is like kind of like having a big, like when I started, it was a big empty toolbox, right? But then you get to start filling it with all these little tools, right? And you can kind of take different tools from different guys. But a guy like yourself has a really big toolbox, and you got a lot of tools that you could show people how to use. So that's pretty cool.
No, I'm stuck. Even now, like even being here, I'm still constantly learning. Me and Coach B are hitting pads and stuff. I'm still learning to this day. There's endless knowledge out there, and you just got to be open-minded. I love showing my tricks and stuff, but I'm constantly picking brains and just seeing what I can add to my game, what I can learn just from being here.
See, that's the mindset of a champ.
So why are you here right now? Let's go over that. So what brought you from beautiful Texas all the way up to Canada?
Y'all's Blondie, Nick Cambasis. I wanted to help him. He's came out to Texas a couple of times for some fight camps and stuff. Is that
how you guys met?
Yes, we met about 5-6 years ago at Team Alpha Male. He was doing a fight camp, and I got Uriah Faber recruited me to Team Alpha Male just to get a feel out, seeing if I wanted to move to California and join their team. And that's when I ended up actually meeting Nick. We were bunked together and stuff, and we just started bonding. He was he was still an amateur and stuff. He was kind of getting picked on out there. A bunch of the pros were trying to take his head off. Guys were sparring and stuff, so I kind of looked out for him. We were out there. I was kind of anybody that sparred with Nick that was trying to get no matter how big they were, that were trying to take his head off, I would spar them right after and take their head off and give them some mean pro treatment. And so me and Nick kind of bonded on that. I've always been one to stand up for others, and I hate seeing jerks in the gym. I always like helping putting them in their place, trying to get them to calm down a little bit. But me and Nick kind of bonded on that, and then next thing you know, I ended up flying him. He ended up coming to Texas, doing a fight camp out there, stayed with me for about 2 months, got him a fight out there, ended up destroying a guy in Oklahoma, just destroyed and dismantled him and stuff like that. But and then now he has a fight camp. I told him, I was like, whenever you make your pro debut, whether it's here, whether it's in Canada, I go, I want to be there. I was like, I'll be there, help with fight camp, whatever you need from me, I'm there.
I call Nick the buzzsaw. Because he tears through people like that. Like he tears through you when he's standing up. He'll tear through you in the clinch, and he'll tear through you on the ground. I've seen that kid fight a few times. And actually, I really like his style too, how he's like, when he throws his kicks and stuff, I think it's very karate. I could be mistaken. But he keeps his body nice and straight as he's coming at you, but the kicks still fly. It's different than Muay Thai, how I like kind of turn my shoulders to throw that swing kick. Nico can keep himself square, which allows him to like throw that kick and then land a couple hard punches afterwards, right?
Yeah, when he moves, he's super technical, and he always keeps good posture. You never see like his back turn over his shoulder. He's always like upright. He always has good posture. I mean, even at the house, like he's always keeping his back straight. He's constantly stretching and making sure he always has good posture.
But that also gives him really good balance.
Yeah.
Like he's always on balance, always in a place where he can throw a punch from.
Yes.
And he moves constantly, right? He's on your like left side.
Left side, switches stances a lot.
Yeah. So he definitely, I would imagine, would be a very confusing fight for somebody. And so he's going into his first pro fight now. So, this is when guys are just beginning, and I think he does pose a problem to anybody who's starting their pro career.
Oh, yeah.
So are you helping Nico get ready for the fight? And if so, how are you going about it? What's your input into Nick's camp?
I'm just helping, keeping him motivated, just going over all the stuff we've worked in the past, letting him beat me up, me being a southpaw, doing fight sims in the gym for all the kids, putting on mini fights. If any of the parents got to witness that, it was fun.
Nice. So psychologically, do you help him with his mental preparation going into it?
Just by me being around and just talking with him, I know just from being around Nick for knowing Nick for about 6 years, he loves my presence. Like I can just tell when I'm in the room, he just feels like he has something to prove. Like he'll step up his game. He feels super motivated when I talk about training or just go over how practice went. Like I just see him, he gets super pumped and he's like, I'm ready to go. I'm happy. I'm excited you're here. I'm so pumped you're here and blah, blah, blah. He's always excited anytime.
Yeah, I think it's good right now too, because Nick's going through all the emotions and things that happen in fight camps where, if he was by himself, I think it would really be getting into his head right now, like, dealing with little injuries one after another, getting sick closer to, and when he wants to be training, and like having these guys in his corner and being like in a fight house is, I think, really helping Nick. We're like, dude, you got to just lock yourself in a room. And we're telling him to do things where, like, if he was just by himself, he could be going stir crazy right now. So I think it's been a blessing having Mark up here too. So, just having that pro edge and, that elite experience in your corner helps for sure.
Well, it's one thing I learned actually starting at this gym and that I didn't know about fights was that it is like a team sport. That there's like a team behind people, and like that, I think actually that's why a lot of Kalsamrit fighters are successful. Is I think there's a really good team atmosphere, not just with the coaches, but I think there's they don't have like captains like a football or hockey team do, but you can see who the leaders are, and the leaders do a really good job of helping the kids out as well, those younger and less experienced. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that people don't realize about being a fighter is a lot of times your team will really lift you up to that next level, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, Kirby, did you want to say something? So, what's Nico's biggest strength?
I think Nico's biggest strength is his striking. He's able to create angles and switch stances. He's comfortable in either stance. I mean, Kalsamrit has amazing striking and stuff, so I don't think it's a no-brainer right there. Yeah, his striking is very, very good.
Yeah, I think he also if I'm not mistaken there, Cruz, he comes from karate as well, right? Nico did karate when he was younger.
When did we first get Nick? We got him.
Actually, that was a good story. Nick showed up here, I think it was like October 2015. It was at a house event, and
he fought James Edwards.
Yeah, he fought James Edwards on one of your shows way back in the day. And then he showed up here for a house fight, and then I was just holding pads in the back for guys, and he was kind of here, not by himself or who was with, and we had a match up. He fought a guy from, I think, Warriors, and I gave him some mitt work before that. I was like, I'll warm you up, and warmed him up, gave him some pads, gave him a little bit of advice, said, watch, let's work on this, see if it works, and he ended up stopping the guy in the first round with a liver shot that we drilled in the back, and I'd never really met him before, and then he's like, that was it. He just came in, he started doing personal training with me in the mornings, and I took him to a couple other fights to see how we worked, and it worked. He started finishing guys, and then we just kept working together, and then, that was it. I think he did about 25 fights.
Okay.
Something like that. And
like those angles and the footwork that he has, that's why he's able to land such a high percentage of body shots, right? Because he does work the body really hard.
Yeah. Positioning. He works his positioning. Like I train guys, I train them like, you look at the ring like it's a chessboard. Every step you take, every position you are in the ring means something. You're taking something away from the guy, and you're positioning him, and you get that checkmate, whatever that is, whatever that hit is. So, but yeah, he was good at that, and he understands the game. He's versatile, like Mark said. He's got versatile striking. Like, it's not just striking; it's throwing a punch and a kick. Like, he understands the boxing. He understands the Muay Thai. Like, I put him in a Golden Gloves tournament. I think he got to the finals, got second, and without really boxing. He did about 10 boxing matches. We did the North American, the IKF championships. He won that a few years back. Knocked out like 2 or 3 guys in one weekend there. So he can adjust, and he can fight many different types of styles, and he's tough. And his movement and his balance, like I said, his positioning is what sets up everything. But that comes within the discipline of just over and over and over repetition. Like where I started training you, that was kind of the same way I trained Nick. I'm like, you're going to stare at yourself in the mirror. That's going to be your hardest opponent, but you're going to figure out what that guy in the mirror, everything he's doing wrong, and we're going to make it perfect.
I was just going to say that Nico reminds me of a perfect replica of what you taught me because I remember you gave me that samurai analogy, how a samurai fights with his sword, and he fights outside at first, and he's fighting here, but then they close the distance, and you're in the clinch, and then you're fighting there, and then you get on the ground, and then you're fighting there, and
there's no separation. Doesn't matter where it is, you just do what needs to be done.
Right,
and
that's Nico. Nico, right?
Yeah, it's not separate things. Like each thing, like you got Muay Thai and boxing and jiu-jitsu and all this. But when it comes down to it, it's just flow. You're able to just do exactly the right movement at the right time. And you're able to shift because the fight's always a changing process all the time. And you're going to be in spots that I train people, so there's no bad positions. Every position is going to be your position. And you figure it out from there. And all the options that you can do from there, whether you got to get out of there or you're trying to hold the guy down and it's you're being dominant.
So, Mark, are you in Nico's corner for the fight?
Yes, I'm in his corner for sure.
So have you watched game tape of his opponent at all? Or
yes, I've watched a lot of game tape. And like I said, I was able to actually mimic his opponent during our fight sim earlier this week.
So what kind of game does his opponent bring to the ring?
From what I see, he likes blasting. He likes striking for as long as he can. Then he's comfortable. If he gets taken down, he'll give him a takedown. He likes working off his back, likes attacking the feet. So I would say, I wouldn't say he's a wrestler, more of a striker. And if he gets taken down, he's okay to fight off his back.
So what's your game plan for Nico then? How do you think unless you don't want to say, but
you have to see fight night. You got to come to the fights and watch it all.
Which, by the way, sold out. Found out today, which is really cool for Nico. Good for him, man, to be fighting in front of a sold out crowd for his first show. Like, congratulations, Nico. I couldn't be more happy for you.
Unfortunately, for everybody listening, like we tried ordering more tickets, but Nick literally sold out. They sent us 50 tickets for Nick to sell. He sold them all out. We tried getting more because we still got a lineup of people asking for tickets, but the event is absolutely sold out, this is amazing. And we're like, what, 10 days out? 10 days out, they're completely sold out. So, if you did get your tickets, this is gonna be a good night, man. I'm excited. I think Nick's ready and he's hungry. He's hungry and he wants this. And I think that's I'm excited to watch him go and kind of let him loose, let the lion out.
I'm not a pro scout by any means, but the one thing that I think Nico's got going for him as fast as if he wants to climb the ladder, getting some wins, is that he's an entertaining fighter because of all his movement and the way he puts on a good show every time I've seen him fight. Like he engages, but he's like, I don't want to say he's like Lomachenko, but with all those foot switches and stuff like that, even as a layman, when the first fight I ever saw at Kalsamrit, I'd only been a member a couple months, and Nico was on the card, and I was just like, whoa, this guy's like the Matrix.
Yeah, crazy. You know what? Good question. Like, so Mark, like, what do you tell Nick if he wants to get to the UFC? Everybody wants to get to the UFC. You're there. Like, what do you tell a guy like Nick who's about to make his pro debut, and all these other guys that are hungry getting there? Like, what's your advice to guys like Nick?
My advice is the same advice that was given to me. Stay in the gym, stay hungry, stay humble, be open-minded, and always make sure you're always learning. Make sure you can never be too good. I hate when I see fighters go in there and be like, sorry, I know it all. And they're throwing 1-2s and stuff. You just gotta always be open. There's more than one way to throw a punch, set up a combo, go for a takedown and stuff. I just hate when I see fighters, they just like hit that plateau. They're just like, I know it all. I don't need to learn anymore. You want to make sure you stay open-minded, always hungry, and in the gym learning.
And part of the martial arts journey is, having that kind of attitude, right? That there's always something to be learned. Because no matter how good you are, and I'm sure you are excellent, you're in the top 20 in the world at what you do, right? So
how'd you get the call to the UFC anyway? Like, and who called you, and how'd you get there?
I like explaining it every time. Like I was telling Coach Darren earlier, I only had 2 amateur fights, and I think I did the 2 amateur fights within 3 months. I had no one to show me. It would be nice if I had someone to show me, like, okay, this is what you got to do to get fights. But I was just a young kid on Facebook at 16, and I messaged every promotion in Texas. I was like, hey, I want to fight. I'll be 17. I got my parents sign a paper. I just want to fight. People blew me off. People ignored me. So I stayed competing in jiu-jitsu until finally a promotion gave me a shot when I was like 19 or 18. And I took my first amateur fight. I ended up winning by I think I got a stoppage, and then a month later they hit me up again, took another amateur fight, stopped the guy in the first round, and then I was like, man, I need to start getting paid for this. Like I really have no one to like mentor me, like, okay, this is when you go pro, this is what you gotta do. But I was already training with killers, training with high level UFC fighters and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I mean, I had no one to really show me what to do. So I was like, I'm gonna go pro. Messaged all these pro promotions. Finally, someone hits me up, hey, I want you to fight our hometown guy. And I knew just being an outsider, just watching that I was being brought in to lose, but I was like, man, this is my chance. I stayed in the gym, stayed hungry, and showed up, ended up stopping the hometown guy in the first round, ended up choking him out. Kept on messaging promotions. I'm 1-0 now. Messaging guys, promoter guys, blowing me off. Okay, finally hit me up. Second pro fight, get another finish. Third pro fight, fourth pro fight. Now I'm sitting 4-0, getting a little bit of attention. Now everybody that wasn't messaging back there messaging, ooh, I want you on my card, I want you on the card, I want you on the card. So I did some smart, just on myself, just listening and talking to the guys around the gym and smart investors and lawyers and stuff, and just figuring out what are the right moves to do, because I didn't really have a manager. I didn't really know who to talk to or how to go about contracts, how people looking it over and stuff. So I picked my family, the guys in the gym, and they helped me go over contracts and stuff. Next thing you know, I'm 9-0. I just fought for Combate Americas on UFC Fight Pass at the time. Go 2 fights for them, both short notice against undefeated fighters. And then next thing I know, I think it's Christmas passes, or not Christmas, Thanksgiving passes. I've gained a little bit of weight, and I'm just enjoying life. I'm young. I think I'm only like 20, 21 years old, 9-0, ranked number 1 in North America at my weight class at 135. I'm a 125er now. But I mean, I was ranked number 1 in the nation in North America, and just constantly doing interviews, podcasts, and people blowing me up. And next thing you know, I get a call from Dana White. I was like, no way.
So actually,
Dana White gives me a call, and I was like, no, I was like, you're kidding. I wanted to hang up on the guy. I was like, this is not Dana White. He's like,
someone's fucking with you.
He's like, yeah, they're messing with me. Like, do you want to fight in Vegas against Tim Elliott? Tim Elliott had just fought Mighty Mouse for the belt. And it was on 10 days notice, and I was about, guys, you got to stay in shape, you got to stay in the gym, and don't be eating too much pizza. But I was 26 pounds over, 10 days out.
Oh, jeez.
They're like, all right, this is your shot in the UFC. It's got to be short notice. Do you want it or not? And I was like, the dog in me, I was like, yes, let's go. As soon as I hang up on the phone, and I was actually sick at the time. As soon as I hang up the phone, I was actually on my way to go get like a soup and stuff and get some medicine. Hang up the phone, I go straight to the gym, straight to the sauna, straight on the trails. Like, I got to sweat this out and stuff, and ended up taking the fight on 10 days notice, cutting 26 pounds in 10 days. But it was an amazing call, amazing experience, for sure.
Now, this is what interests me about a fighter is, so you went 9-0, you had 9 fights before you go into the UFC. Your first fight in the UFC was actually a loss, but then you came back, racked off 2 straight wins. And for those that are fighting out there that maybe at that point where they're undefeated and stuff like that, right? And they take the L. That's sometimes too much for some people. What does it take to get back into fight camp after that loss and get your mind right and become a winner again? Because I think that, to me, is the most interesting thing about fighters, is how they can do that. It's not easy.
Main thing, I keep a good positive mindset. I know stepping in that cage, anything can happen. I can look one way, I can look down, anything can happen when you step in that cage. There's no such thing as a guarantee when you're gonna step in that cage. It's like anything can happen in there. Someone could throw a crazy knee, you can get poked in the eye, ref not see it. The next thing you know, they follow up with it. Usually anything can happen, but usually there's always something to work on. Whether you have a dominant performance or not, you can always have better footwork or whatever. It sucks when you come off whenever you get a loss, but always having that mindset, you can always get better, and there's always something to work on. Whether you win or not, there's always something to work on. There's always something to improve on. So as long as I keep that mindset, it's always easier stepping in the gym, going back in the cage, whether you're off a win or a loss.
Like football, we always broke down a lot of game tape, win or lose. Are you a big game tape guy? Do you go back, watch your fights, analyze them, and pick them apart?
Oh yes, for sure. Because I'm my biggest, I'm my biggest critic, especially as far as like judging. Like, I'm like, oh, that was a crappy one too. That I was standing too wide. That was a crappy kick. There was no good setups. So I love watching fight film on myself, for sure.
Do you have a manager now? So like originally you were like taking care of yourself, getting yourself fights. Do you have a manager now, or do you?
No, yes. It's like 50-50. I have a manager now that helps me as far as like with like big contracts and big endorsements and big sponsorships, because some of these guys, they want to sponsor me, or they want me to sign some, and it's like 10, 15 papers, and it's whole packet of paperwork of I got to make sure it gets proofread and everything, make sure I'm not signing my life away.
Wow. This is amazing.
Yeah, so you then you come back, you win a few in the UFC, but then you've lost a few. So what's your next game plan? How do you like, and also like how do they get the fights like linked up? Like, how do they look and go, okay, Mark, he's 14, we think he'd be a good fight against there. They have a matchmaker, right?
They have 2 matchmakers. Mick Maynard is the matchmaker for my weight class. I know he does I think he does the women 125, guy 125. Then like they separate between Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard. They all each has their certain amount of weight classes that they manage. But as far as like my experience, I'm not trying to bash them or anything, but as far as like my experience, they just whoever wants to fight. There's no cycle.
Okay.
It's usually what I see. It's whoever's manager is at all the fights. Whoever's manager is kissing up to the matchmakers. The matchmakers will be at the bars. The matchmakers will be hanging out fight week and stuff.
So politics is big.
Yeah, politics is huge. So if you got your manager and you're in the UFC, your manager better be on there, because I mean that's going to decide whether you're sitting on the bench for a year or not. Like same thing in my last fight against Kai France. He's big up and comer. Great opponent, a lot of experience and stuff. I know he has a lot of boxing fights, a lot of Muay Thai fights. But I was able to get that fight by asking for that fight.
Nice.
If not, I mean, who knows? I probably would have still been on the bench. I would have constantly still been on the bench, because it's just there's so many people on the roster, and it's hard for them to figure, okay, who's next? Who's just cycling guys out. Like, you know, just figuring out who's going in, whose turn is it now, who should fight again, who's got momentum, who should fight again now. Like, it's kind of chaotic sometimes.
So how much of the UFC then do you think like you're gonna get fights if you have a following, as opposed to like the good fighters actually getting opportunity? Are you seeing that a lot at that level? Like,
it's lately now it's like who has the bigger fall. Whoever has a bigger following is tending to get more fights, is tending to get matched up a lot more. Whoever's manager is constantly talking to him, constantly visiting him, taking him out, greeting him, giving him gifts and stuff like that. It's definitely, there's a lot of politics in it.
So
for sure.
I know Montana got a fight bonus. Have you got any fight bonuses yet?
I have, but not officially. Underneath the table, especially when I fought in China, I got compensated very well.
Okay.
I actually fought on my birthday when I fought in China against Kai France.
Okay, nice. So, how long do you want to wait till your next fight? What's your optimum timeline look like?
If it was up to me, I'd fight every 2 months. For me, it'd be nice. But like I said, that's my ideal situation. But especially being out here and hitting pads every day with all the amazing coaches, I'm getting the itch to fight. I'm getting the itch, and it's looking like maybe December in Vegas. We're looking at.
Very nice.
Are we going to Vegas in December, Matty? Or what?
I don't know. That might warrant a trip.
I think we have to now.
It's not hard to say yes to Vegas. So what's your diet like? Because obviously, like, especially if you're a guy that used to fight at 135 now you're at 125, obviously you got to keep your walking around weight.
Cheeseburgers and ice cream when he's around Kara.
Oh, man.
How old are you?
Let's just say I'm 25.
Wait till you get to be 41, my friend.
In Canada, I'm not on a diet, but usually I drop weight fast. Like when I get on a strict diet, like when I first start my fight week, I drop 7 to 10 pounds just fight week, just by eating healthy. Like my body carries a lot of water. When I diet, my body, it reacts very well, and I tend to drop weight like quick.
Nice. So what's the most satisfying win of your career?
The most satisfying was my second UFC fight when I fought Elias Garcia. He's cousins to Sergio and Anthony Pettis. He's a black belt striker under Duke Rufus, and I was like I was a big underdog, a crazy underdog. Everybody was counting me out. Like even the guys that were interviewing me, they were just like, "This guy's brought in to lose. He's gonna lose." I fought in Boise, Idaho, and my wife had just fought the week before that, and she fought Rachel Ostovich. Ended up choking her out like in the third round. And I was like, I'm going to get a submission.
Nice.
I'm going to get a submission. And then the following week, so she fought in Vegas. And then the next weekend, I fought in Boise, Idaho. Ended up fighting him. I ended up, pieced him up on the feet, took his back, ended up choking him out in the second round. So we both got back-to-back rear naked chokes. So it was nice.
What's that feel like to finish a guy in the octagon in front of all those people? Like, what kind of emotions go through you?
Oh, man, it's still surreal. Even to this moment, I still feel like a kid. Just because, I mean, I grew up watching it. I was a big UFC fan, just like most guys are when they're first starting out fighting. You're walking out, you hear Bruce Buffer, you see Joe Rogan, and then now I'm actually in the cage. I'm striking, I'm moving. I can hear Joe Rogan and these guys commentating my fight. Bruce Buffer's coming in the middle, yelling my name, giving me a fist bump in his nice big fancy suit.
Yeah.
And it's definitely surreal. It's an amazing experience every time I step in there.
So there's some big fights coming up, one in boxing and one in the UFC that I want to get your opinion on. So first, Canelo is going to fight Kovalev. Kovalev, the much bigger man, Canelo making the jump to light heavyweight. How do you see that going for him?
I'm going to go, I see it going pretty well for him just because, I mean, he's not cutting as much weight. Yes, it's boxing. Yes, this guy's it is bigger and stuff, but he's in fight camp year round, constantly training. I think him losing to Floyd Mayweather is like the best thing that could ever happen to him, because he's still that Mexican style fighter that'll stay in your face and box, but he added head movement, slips, counters. Like, he's got a different kind of style now, and it complements him going against the bigger man, slipping and dodging and moving, just how he was able to kind of walk Triple G down.
Yeah, I think his movement's going to frustrate Kovalev as well, because bigger guys have a harder time when it comes to the speed, right? And Canelo, even though he's quick, he punches pretty hard for his
still
size.
got some power.
Just ask Amir Khan how that feels. He's probably still just waking up from that shot.
Yeah.
The other one, and this is for the BMF belt. I heard a rumor that Dana White's going to actually make a legit
I saw
BMF belt for this. Diaz v. Masvidal. And that's going to be on the same night as Canelo Kovalev. And I don't know why Canelo Kovalev did that, because I think Diaz Masvidal is much more intriguing and is going to get way more pay-per-views. But how do you see that fight turning out?
That's a tough one.
Have you met these guys?
I've actually met Diaz. I've met Masvidal, but I've actually met Diaz. I'm actually good friends with Diaz. I've hung out with him in San Francisco. I've hung out with him in Miami. We've hung out together.
They both terrify me. Is Nate actually like
Nick and Nate? Nick, as far as like Nick and Nate, they're amazing guys. I didn't get to actually like hang out with Masvidal, but he was a cool, relaxing, chill guy. Like, he was easy to talk to.
Because both those dudes in the octagon are terrifying.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Like, terrifying.
Yeah, it's crazy style. Masvidal's explosive. He's got that killer instinct, but Nate surprises me every time. He'll get these kickboxers and stuff, and he'll just walk them down with his boxing and get them to go into his game. Like, it's crazy just watching him dismantle Anthony Pettis and just walk him down and stop all those flashy kicks and stuff.
I can't get over how Diaz can constantly keep pressure up. Even if he gets rocked a couple times, he's like a zombie. He just keeps coming forward, man. And
he can take a punch well.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that, right? Because, I mean, if you're a guy and you give a dude like your best shot and he just like shakes his head, that's got to do something to you psychologically, right? And then the pressure's on you, so now all of a sudden, you know, you can't breathe, you can't set yourself, you feel claustrophobic, I imagine, when a guy's all over you and you just want to get your space. So I've always liked his fight style that way. I've always thought guys that are pressure fighters are killers too, because they must have intense cardio. Because I don't know how you do that. Like, especially you guys, 5-minute rounds.
And he's a vegan. Nate's a vegan. He doesn't eat any meat.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So who do you take in the fight?
I'm gonna go with Nate.
Nate Diaz.
I'm gonna go with Nate.
I think Nate's gonna choke him out.
Nice.
But, I wouldn't be upset though. Either one. If Masvidal wins, I wouldn't be upset either.
Yeah,
but I'm going with Nate.
I think the winners are the fans, because that's going to be a banger.
That's
as
a great
far as
fight.
UFC. Yeah,
it's a pay-per-view, and it's not even. I guess it is for a belt, but it's not for an actual title.
Yeah.
Title belt. It's not for.
And you know what?
Belt.
I think the UFC can do that more often too.
That's awesome.
I think that, you know, you don't always have to have a belt on the line for a fight to be.
But there is a belt on the line, because he said he is actually making it. I wonder what that belt's going to look like.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It has to match the BMF name.
Yeah. Right?
Man. Well, anyway, Mark, I can't thank you enough for stopping by and giving us some of your time. It's a highlight of my career to have been able to interview you for sure.
Quick shout out too, guys. Anybody listening, me and Kara actually just finished placing our order. Mark has a coffee company, De La Rosa Coffee. We just ordered the dark roast.
Oh, you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you guys are interested, give them a little info if they want to get in. So you know what? I love supporting people that I know or local businesses. Like, I just had Tony Santos do my landscaping, members of the gym. You know what I mean? I always love supporting members of the gym, and you know, instead of me supporting Tim Hortons, don't get me wrong, decent coffee, but I'm gonna get these little packets from my Keurig from my friend Mark. So if anybody's interested, give them a little info how they can get some coffee.
DelaRosaCoffee.net. We got dark roast, medium roast, light roast. We're gonna have a couple of special flavors coming out. But yeah, the coffee business is definitely doing very, very well. We've been selling a lot. We've been selling a lot of coffee, and it's good quality. I'm able to actually go out there, go through the process, see how to my tasting, how I like it, and I've got nothing but positive feedback.
Where is it made from?
It is made in Odessa, Texas.
Oh, right on. Excellent.
So yeah, we're going to be heading down to Texas hopefully soon for a visit now, because I think a lot of the fighters up here are getting to know you, and we're looking for a team trip, and then hopefully one day you can get you and Montana up here, so we can have a seminar with the both of you guys. And you know, I just want to thank you for coming up and giving your time to Nick. Like, it just shows how humble you are. You know, an active UFC fighter kind of dropping what they're doing to come up here and support a guy making his pro debut. Just kind of goes to show your character. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the gym.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, and the best of luck in the future, my friend.
Thank you.
Os.
Os.
Good night, I love you guys.